Up next, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce ASU's Executive Vice President of the Knowledge Enterprise, Dr. Sally Morton. What is a knowledge enterprise? It's the pillar of the university that advances research, innovation, strategic partnerships, entrepreneurship, economic development, and much, much more. It serves as the new model for the 21st century global research university. Dr. Morton will lead us in a conversation about the Science and Technology Centers, one of the core components of the New Economy Initiative. Here's Dr. Morton.
Thank you, Grace, and good afternoon, everyone. As Grace said, my name is Sally Morton, and I am the Executive Vice President of Knowledge Enterprise at Arizona State University. And I'm excited to get to share with you the ambition and the drive that Arizona State University is already bringing to the New Economy Initiative and the crucial work of growing future industries right here in Arizona. And in a moment, I'll be speaking with three key leaders in the development of ASU's Science and Technology Centers, which are an incredibly exciting part of the New Economy Initiative. Now, as you know, the New Economy Initiative, or NEI, is a generous bipartisan investment by our elected leaders and fellow citizens in the future growth and success of the Arizona economy. And it's an investment in all of us in this meeting. And its success is contingent on the full and active contributions of energy, creativity, and talent from people in today's audience and the many others like us. And I'm so grateful for that because you are the people who can make this happen. Now, Grace has already described the Science and Technology Centers, or STCs, a little already today, so I'll be brief. The Science and Technology Centers are the engines of the New Economy Initiative here at ASU. They are the intellectual hubs where university experts, industry leaders, and ASU students will come together to identify the needs of our communities, solve problems, design new businesses, create new jobs, and train workers all over the state. And when we are successful, when new solutions are discovered, when new businesses are created, and when existing businesses are attracted to Arizona, the STCs will be part of creating the pipeline of talent, driven graduates to keep our new economy going. And I'm thrilled that we have a student on our panel today, and you will see what an outstanding example she is of this important work. There's another exciting element to the Science and Technology Centers that I'd like you to keep in mind. It relates to the core mission of the university. One of our ambitions at ASU is to elevate and expand the way research is conducted. It's to speed up and streamline the process of coming up with needed solutions. It's to advance those solutions into the world quickly and effectively. In summary, one of ASU's missions is to change the way the world solves problems. The Science and Technology Center model is a powerful example of a new way of problem solving. These centers are a proven method of expanding economic prosperity quickly and at scale, and their unique combination of faculty, students, and industry partners also gives us a new platform to solve important problems. This is needed. We all must work up to our potential, and we must take responsibility wherever possible to help others work up to theirs, including a focus on expanding diversity and access. The Science and Technology Centers will be an excellent example of how we can do that. And so I urge you to think boldly about how you can be a part of the success of the Science and Technology Centers. We welcome and we need your energy and your high aspirations. As you listen to this discussion, I hope you'll consider how you might contribute, because the opportunity we've been given here is bounded only by our ambition. And I can't wait for you to experience the ambition of our three panelists. So let me introduce our panelists. Dr. Kyle Squires is the Dean of the Ira A. Fulton Schools of Engineering, one of the nation's largest engineering schools. He's also Vice Provost of Engineering, Computing, and Technology at Arizona State University. He's been a crucial leader and a visionary in the development of the Science and Technology Centers, and indeed in the implementation of the entire New Economy Initiative. Also joining us is Dr. Zach Holman. Dr. Holman is an associate professor in the School of Electrical, Computer, and Energy Engineering within the Fulton Schools of Engineering. And we have Nicole Swatton, a senior in the School of Electrical, Computer, and Engineering, and Energy Engineering. So let's begin our questions. So Nicole, I'd like to start with you. Students will play such a crucial role in the success of the Science and Technology Centers, or STCs, and we're confident the STCs will provide really amazing experiences for the students. Your undergraduate career has been really remarkable, and in a way, I think it's been a model for the kinds of things we think students will be doing in the STCs. Can you share a little bit about your journey, please?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be able to introduce this panel and excited to offer a student perspective to all the things we've been talking about today. So I'm an Arizona native. I come from down the street, 15 minutes away. And so I chose to go to ASU my freshman year. And I say I got really lucky because I knew I wanted to go into solar. I knew that's what I wanted to do at 18 years old, and I did it and I like it. So I got really lucky doing that. So freshman year, spring of 2019, actually, I reached out to Dr. Mariana Bertoni, who she owns a lab, the defect lab at Arizona State. And she offered me a position as an undergraduate researcher there within Crystal Sonic. Crystal Sonic is a startup looking at wafer manufacturing and wafer spalling, which is just a fancy way to look at more sustainable, more cost-effective wafers. And so I've gotten over the past 3 years to be not only an electrical engineer, a physicist, a mechanical engineer, a chemist sometimes, because with startups, you have to fill all these different roles, and that's given me so many skills, not only like professionally and working with so many different types of people and different types of scientists and teams, but technically. So I was then offered a position 2 years ago at the NASA Center doing solar research there, working on solar cells for lunar missions in the future. And this summer, because of all of this last 3 years working with this startup within the ASU lab, I've been offered a position working at SpaceX in their solar department as well. So not only did I get super lucky and be able to choose a niche like solar within electrical engineering that I truly enjoy and love, I got to say, okay, now I want to do space solar panels. And I think really being able to give students not only like an option to find what they love, but an option to pursue even that work more deeper, and especially giving these opportunities to young women and people of color and minorities too, and really helping to shape their careers in the way mine has been in the last 4 years is extremely, extremely important.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Really inspirational. Let's turn now to Dean Squires, Dean of the Fulton Schools of Engineering. Dean Squires, can the STCs create the kind of opportunities and outcomes like we heard about from Nicole, or more broadly, how do the STCs work to create those outcomes?
Well, thanks, Sally. And yeah, I also want to thank Nicole for joining. You get reminded, right, through a summary like that, you know, we have this really incredible, unique opportunity as a university. We produce amazing talent, great students. You know, you're going to meet one of our terrific faculty who are responsible for sort of, you know, teaching and mentoring and helping those students along through their journey. And so when you learn about these outcomes, right, and that's, I think, one of the key words here, that is the outcomes that students like Nicole have through internships, through working, you know, with faculty and getting some sense of the startup landscape. The STCs absolutely can create opportunities like these for other students. And we frankly need to produce more Nicoles. That is, more students who have those chances to engage and become entrepreneur, researcher, engineer, and frankly, you know, you can see it already, leaders. So this is really kind of the moment we're at. And, you know, the conversations, all the other panels do remind of a couple things that I also wanted to bring up here, and it's so resonant. So, you know, we really are, Arizona, we're at this sort of moment, this interesting moment in the journey or the history of the economy. And you see it on campus. The Fulton schools have grown to 27,000 students. ASU is a very large, very dynamic university. So you feel that energy through this growth. You read about it, companies that are relocating, expanding in Arizona. It's all part of this passion and energy and growth of the tech economy, and frankly, the economy writ large across the valley. But you also see it, not only through the construction of maybe a semiconductor fab, but also all of the related engagement, construction, energy that's coming into the valley that really has put us at this key point. And it's now, right now, that we have to accelerate. That is, accelerate this transition to this new economy. And Sally, you put it so well, and the other speakers have. In addition, what's key here with the STCs, to come back to that, they provide the engine. That was a key phrase, but it's this phrase, sustain innovation. That is, the STCs are the sustained innovation that we need to continue that acceleration of Arizona towards this new economy. So then it gets to, well, exactly how does that happen? Right? What exactly do they do so that, again, the Nicoles and others have a chance to benefit? Well, there's three principal pillars, if you will. Co-funded projects. That is, partnerships where our faculty and students are partnering up with industry and others through unique facilities, accessing unique tool sets and equipment to conduct projects and speed the translation. That is, we want to shorten the time between idea, realization, and implementation. So co-funding of these projects is one element of the partnership. The second is through establishing fellowships, impact engineering fellowships for students who can be embedded on site within companies. So another key piece. And then thirdly, through workforce training, where companies can send employees to, again, these unique facilities, and Professor Holman will speak about that in a moment, that basically allow us to increase the expertise level of the workforce, to broaden access. That's a key facet as well if we're really going to get where we want to be, Greater Phoenix. So last week we kicked off two, those came up. A very successful proposers day with nearly 200 faculty and industry partners, listening to feedback and helping remind us of these goals. So it really is about creating opportunity for students for sure, but for others as well, across the valley, businesses, industry leaders, and so forth. And it does matter, because Arizona's capacity to enhance growth and innovation in the tech landscape directly impacts the state's ability to transform those ideas into economic activity, create jobs, bring companies, allow the universities to grow in a really productive way. So obviously we're pretty passionate about that.
Thank you, Kyle, for conveying that passion and energy and commitment. We'll turn now to our third panelist. As I said, is Dr. Zach Holman. Now, Zach, you're a faculty member, of course, in the Fulton Schools of Engineering, but you're also head of the Energy and Materials STC. Can you give us some examples of how this paradigm is already working and what kind of projects your STC is taking on?
Yes, thank you, Sally. So in 2021, we kicked off the first two STCs at ASU. One of them is on advanced manufacturing, and the other one, as Sally said, is on energy, materials, and devices. And we call that one amped. Yes, because we're amped up and excited about it, but also because it's about advanced materials, processes, and energy devices. And I want to give you a peek into what we're doing inside the STC. It has three topical thrust areas. One is on solar, and we heard Nicole talk a little bit about projects that she's worked on there. One is on batteries, and the third is on power electronics. And these three are key to creating our electrified future. So when you think of solar, think of questions like, how do we make solar cells more efficient? How do we make them last longer? How do we make them cheaper? And think of companies like First Solar, grown right here in Arizona. Think of companies like Meyer Burger that just announced a couple months ago that it's building a new facility in Goodyear to manufacture modules. And think of startup companies like Sunflex Solar that are emerging out of ASU. In the area of batteries, we're asking and answering questions like, how can we charge batteries faster and also discharge them faster? How can we store more energy in each battery? How can we be less reliant on some of the critical materials that are rare earths? And how do we have better recycling processes? And there you can think of battery companies that are starting in the state of Arizona, like NPower, which was an ACA AIC winner, I believe, last year. And down in Tucson, you can think of companies like Scion Power, but you can also think of users of such advanced batteries like the electric vehicle manufacturers that are growing both in number and size in the state of Arizona. And then finally, in the area of power electronics, we're thinking about things like how do you shuttle electricity from where it's generated on the grid to where it gets used on the grid? As we integrate more solar, more batteries onto the grid, how do we have a stable electricity grid? Also things like vehicle charging. All of those are managed by power electronics. And you think of companies like NXP and like On Semiconductor here in the Valley. Let me give you just a specific example of what a project might look like in the area of solar. And I'm really excited about this example because it happens that today, a new research paper came out in one of the Nature journals reporting the results of some ASU research on a method to accelerate making solar cells better. Now, the paper talks about some cool academic science stuff, but what I'm really excited to tell you is that the STC has gone and picked up this project and funded it in a way to distribute those results, to translate those results to Arizona industry. And in fact, this new method that was created has now been replicated at a large Arizona solar company and at a New York company that, because in part of this sort of partnership with ASU, is now starting activities here in Arizona. So there's a great example of the STCs linking into business attraction for the state. Now, the STCs aren't just about working with established companies, they're also about forming new companies. And Nicole mentioned that, you know, she did work starting as an undergraduate with Crystal Sonic, the startup company. Now, Crystal Sonic, as Nicole mentioned, is trying to change the process that makes expensive wafers. Those expensive wafers, if you hear the word wafer and you're familiar with semiconductor, you might think of silicon, but there are other wafers types too, and those are the ones driving power electronics, things like gallium nitride. Crystal Sonic is an ASU startup in the area of the STC that is changing the way that's done to reduce the cost pretty dramatically. So those are some specific examples of you know, what's going on inside an STC right now.
Thank you so much, Zach. You really gave us some concrete examples of how it's working. Thank you very much. I want to turn back to Nicole. I was just so taken with your story. You've had a remarkable time here at ASU, and you're only a senior, but tell us a little bit about how that experience has affected what you're going to do in the rest of your life. What's next for you?
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear how it's affected me. It's shaped, I guess, every facet of me the last 3 years, being able to work in this lab, and then on top of that have these outside industry experiences. But something funny I like to always bring up is that 10 years ago, I probably didn't even know what an engineer was. So it's crazy to me that now I'm able to do all of this like really exciting engineering work. And I feel like because I kind of did put myself into that box of like, oh, to be an engineer, you couldn't be talkative and you couldn't be entrepreneurial and you couldn't like want to like do business stuff also like on top of the technical side. But being really having that interaction not only with the company, but with Dr. Mariana Bertoni and Dr. Pablo Guerma-Cole, who I worked under, they really built up like my self-esteem, like as a student and as a researcher. So when I go into industry, I can really know what I'm talking about and things like that. But going into my future, I'm planning on applying to graduate school. I'm going to apply to go into a Ph.D. in material science. So we'll see where I end up. I apply in December of 2022. But I really just think that these STCs are really going to show students that you don't have to choose between your research self and your entrepreneurial self. And I think that's just like really, really, really important. And I think it's going to make a huge impact on ASU and the students here.
Thank you, Nicole. And I know we all wish you every success. I know you're going to be incredibly successful in the next stage of your career. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
So Zach, I think what will be crucial to the success of the STCs and the New Economy Initiative more broadly is not only how many companies we're able to attract to Arizona and indeed startups that we're able to assist with. The question is, will they stay in Arizona? So how do we help ensure not only these companies' success, but their desire to remain part of our community?
That's a great question, Sally. Yeah, sustaining what we start is just critical. And I think the first piece is the great work that's being done by organizations like PEI, by GPEC, by ACA in creating a business environment that very clearly works in attracting and growing companies here. We're in the middle of that. We're seeing that success right now. So kudos to all of those organizations. And, you know, ASU has a really important role to play as well. And I think of three things that come to mind that are specific to ASU's role in this sustainability of our new economy. The first one has to be producing the workforce needed. And ASU's the largest school in the country and has the largest engineering school in the country with over 27,000 engineers. That still blows my mind, because when I went to school, I went to a small college that had 1,300 students, and now I'm teaching in an electrical engineering school that has more than 1,300 students. So it's really pretty amazing, the scale of what ASU has to offer and how critical that is to driving the economy. The second thing I would say would be enabling facilities and capabilities. I think we heard about that in the earlier panel about WearTech. And another example that I really like is our Macro Technology Works facility at ASU Research Park in South Tempe. That's a former Motorola fab. And in that building, we have ASU researchers, ASU facilities. We also have tenants that include 8 startup companies and several larger companies in the semiconductor space, working together in a research ecosystem. Those sorts of facilities are really crucial, particularly for small companies, in lowering the barrier to entry, especially if it's a capital intensive product that they're developing or a capital intensive industry. And then the third thing would be, continued innovation at the university. And I think, ASU's record speaks for itself there with our #1 in innovation award for, I think it's 7 years now. So I think those three things are key pieces that ASU can bring.
Thank you so much, Kyle. I think we just have maybe 1 or 2 minutes left, so I'm going to ask Dean Squires, if I'm a member of the audience and I want to get involved with this work, what should I do?
Well, thanks, Sally. It's simple. So contact us, either just reach out directly to anybody on the panel that you've heard from, but there's an email address, STC for Science and Technology Center, stc@asu.edu. So again, stc@asu.edu, ping that. We will be sure to connect you with the NEI team. They can talk with you about how to get involved. We do need that partnership. That's the real genuine opportunity that we have. We look forward to engaging around that. And that really is how we produce that workforce, generate those ideas, and continue to accelerate the transformation of Arizona to the new economy.
Thank you, Kyle. And I want to thank our whole panel, Kyle, Zach, and especially our student, Nicole, who joined us today. And thank you to the audience, and I'll turn it back to our host now.
Thank you, Dr. Morton, and to our engineering leaders of today and tomorrow for your perspectives. That was incredibly inspiring and really amazing to hear all of the great work that's already underway.
Sure was. PEI's applied research centers are advancing some potentially life-changing technologies, and ASU's science and technology centers are already making an impact on key industries in our state.
Yes, it's easy to see how these additional investments will pay dividends into the future.